I believe that each of us in some way, shape, or form can relate to wanting to completely be us. There's some sort of us deep down that we're all striving to know a little bit more, that we're all striving to understand. And to be able to know that takes a little bit of self-awareness, and it takes being able to try and go places that we don't want to go, places that we're scared to go. Yeah, I guess my whole objective is like, I've experienced the gift of vulnerability. I've experienced the gift of counseling. I've experienced the gift of being who I've been created to be. I've experienced allowing myself to like love myself, right? Like, I think for a lot of people, we just get so fixated on like what we've done, or like what we've done wrong, like any sort of shame and guilt, and we hang on to that, and we don't allow ourselves to be like loved unconditionally, and to like realize the gift that is in my life, to almost in like a ridiculously liberal way forgive myself, because like shame and guilt holds us back, and it holds like everyone else back. And I think it's a compilation of like both like how we've been grown up, what we've been told by society, of like you should be doing this, you should be doing that, and like we carry around all this like extra guilt and shame. And I've just experienced like the weight of like being me. Like it took me years to figure out who I was, like who's Matt Warren, like who's he trying to be for others, and who is he really. And I think in our society, like people who are vulnerable and like just super open about like what are very common normal struggles, people have a hard time opening up. I think there's something to be said about vulnerability. What happens when we decide to take a chance, when we decide to put ourselves out there, when we decide to open up and be vulnerable with one another?
Why do you think that people have a hard time with it?
A hard time with what, being open?
Yeah.
Well, everybody's honestly insecure. Everyone wants to fit in some way, right? Like everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody is trying to like prove their worth in some way, and whether that's like by actions, by what you do, by what you have to offer, we assume that our value is attributed to somebody else's own subjective interpretation of our worth.
Yeah.
And so we go around caring about what other people think, because that brings us value, right? We allow other people to give us value, and we're the ones that are we're the ones that are empowering others to make us more anxious, right? Like we have the choice to say like whether we're gonna like let what somebody thinks of us hold that weight. And I think the one thing that I'll constantly come back to is the fact that we are not victims of our circumstances. We are not victims of our emotions. And we control the way that we act and the way that we view life. No matter what happens, you are in control of you. I am in control of me. The decisions I make that either lead me towards some unpleasant outcome, or lead me to a great outcome, we have control of our attitudes regarding all of that. And we are in full control of our decisions. Like that statement, like, we're taught to like own up to mistakes that we made. And I think like that's a huge problem in our society, is like people's fear of failure, fear of messing up is a huge problem. Because there's so much guilt and shame associated with messing up, whatever messing up is. I don't even believe in messing up. And what I tell people all the time, I mean, I do, but I don't. But like what I tell people all the time is like, look, like you are so concerned about a test grade. You're so concerned about failing a class But like that's one little area in your life. What if that one failure allows you to like go and talk to somebody about that failure, like go talk to a counselor, and then you realize all these extra things like that you never would have realized had you not failed that paper. And so was that like really a failure? No, because it's like you were able then to get some self-awareness. You were able to then find out things about yourself that you would have never through that failure. And so like I tell people all the time, like go and like a mistake's not a mistake. Like you learn, you're constantly in a state of learning. And once you hold that shame and guilt, once you continue to carry that shame and guilt, it'll do nothing but harm you.
Yeah. Like
that's the one thing, man, is like the more grace we give ourselves and allow ourselves forgiveness, and accept that, especially from the cross, accept that, we and like start to love ourselves in that way. Like that's where we're really able to just continue to grow, because it's like, okay, like we're not fixated on like right, wrong. We're fixated on how can we just become better, and every time we make a mistake, it's okay because we could just keep going forward. It's like, why does your mistake and your interpretation of what you view as a mistake, and culture's expectation and subjective measurement of success, why do you allow subjectivity to dictate like who you objectively are as an individual?